Ever since Harlan Ellison wrote his story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, humans have been terrified of artificial intelligence. But I'm here to put that to the test and figure out just how scary AI can really be. So I asked Chat GPT to write me a horror story. And here's what it gave me. Once upon a time, in a small, secluded village named Ravenswood, a young woman named Emily moved into an old, dilapidated house at the edge of town. The locals warned her about the house's dark history, but she shrugged off their warnings, convinced that it was just superstition. As the days passed, strange occurrences began to unfold. Emily would wake up in the middle of the night to hear eerie whispers echoing through the halls, her walls covered in unsettling symbols that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The temperature in the house would suddenly drop, leaving Emily shivering, even in the midst of summer. One stormy night, as the wind howled outside, Emily discovered an old photo album hidden beneath the floorboards. Intrigued, she started flipping through the pages, only to be greeted by haunting images of the previous owners. Gloomy black and white photographs that seemed to capture their misery and despair. Night after night, Emily found herself plagued by horrifying nightmares. She would wake up drenched in sweat, feeling as though she was being watched by unseen eyes. The walls of her room would pulsate with an eeriness that seemed to seep into her very soul. Desperate for answers, Emily sought the help of a local historian who revealed the dark secrets of her house. Decades ago, it had been the site of a gruesome murder. The previous owners, living in the very room she now occupied, had fallen victim to a vengeful spirit seeking retribution for their untimely demise. Determined to put an end to the terrifying encounters, Emily embarked on a perilous journey to uncover the truth behind the paranormal activity. Armed with spiritual artifacts and sage advice from an exorcist, she delved into the dark history of Ravenwood and discovered that the restless spirit had been wronged in life and yearned for justice. As she pieced together the pieces of the puzzle, Emily learned that she was unknowingly connected to the spirit's tragic past. In the midst of a cold winter night, in a final confrontation, she faced the ghostly figure, resolving to confront her own fears and right the wrongs of the past. With a combination of compassion and bravery, Emily managed to appease the tormented spirit, helping it find peace at last. As the ghostly presence subsided, Ravenswood once again returned to its serene existence, grateful for Emily's unwavering courage in the face of true horror. Having triumphed over darkness, Emily emerged a changed person, forever haunted by her experiences, but forever grateful for the lessons learned. The haunted house, once a place of fear and despair, was transformed into a symbol of resilience and hope, casting a light on the power of redemption and the enduring nature of the human spirit. Ooh, I'm really shaking in my boots after that one. You know what? Maybe Snapchat's AI can write me a better horror story. The world was a different place after the comet struck. It was as if something had been unleashed, something ancient and malevolent. Strange creatures began to appear, slowly at first, but then in greater numbers. They were like nothing anyone had ever seen before. They had tentacles and wings and eyes that glowed in the dark. They were terrifying to behold. As the days passed, the creatures grew bolder. They began to attack people in the streets, dragging them off to who knows where. The government tried to contain the situation, but it was too late. The creatures had spread too far. It wasn't long before people began to realize that the comet had brought something with it, something that had been sleeping for eons, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Something that was now here, in our world. The sky turned black and the air grew thick with a noxious mist. The ground shook and the buildings trembled. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The creatures disappeared and the sky cleared. But the damage had been done. The world would never be the same again. That was awful. So it's very clear that my AI... Get out of here! So it's very clear that my AI cannot write a better horror story than Chat GPT. Actually, before and after that story was written, the Snapchat AI says, sure, I'll give it my best shot. And then at the end it said, It's not my best work, but I tried my best. Which is it? I don't know. But yeah, that was trash, and we're just going to not try that anymore because I don't feel like reading more of that garbage. So I asked Chat GPT again, and this time I gave it some more instructions. I asked it to write me a horror story about a lighthouse. Deep within the heart of a secluded coastal town stood a lighthouse that had stood tall for centuries. The locals spoke of it with a mix of awe and fear, whispering tales of strange sounds and eerie apparitions that roamed the grounds. Many had tried to uncover the secrets hidden within its walls, but their efforts were met with unsettling consequences. One stormy night, a young couple named Alex and Sarah found themselves seeking shelter from the raging tempest. Desperate for refuge, they stumbled upon the abandoned lighthouse, thinking it would provide them with a solace from its restless rain and howling winds. As they entered the lighthouse, a heavy sense of unease settled upon them. Its walls were weathered, and the lingering scent of dampness permeated the air. The couple ventured cautiously upwards, ascending the winding staircase that seemed to stretch on forever, each step leading them deeper into the heart of darkness. Upon reaching the top, they gazed out at the storm-ravaged ocean, its turbulent waves crashing against jagged rocks below. Lightning illuminated the sky, casting eerie shadows throughout the room. Unbeknownst to them, their presence had awakened a malevolent force that had long slumbered within the lighthouse. As the night wore on, the lighthouse came alive with haunting whispers, a chorus of disembodied voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls. Doors creaked open, and the flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows that seemed to have a life of their own. Alex and Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of dread as the malicious energy consumed the once tranquil atmosphere. Unable to escape the grip of terror, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its door ajar, revealing a dimly lit room filled with ancient artifacts and faded journals. Sarah's curiosity got the better of her, and she began to read one of the journals. The chilling words detailed the tragic fate that had befallen the lighthouse keeper and his family. Long ago, driven to madness by an unrelenting presence, he had committed unspeakable acts within the very walls of the lighthouse. Suddenly, the lighthouse came alive with a maddening presence, the walls shaking violently and emanating a bone-chilling scream that reverberated throughout the structure. Alex and Sarah found themselves trapped amidst an otherworldly tempest within the confines of a malevolent. Okay, I'm going to start that over. Alex and Sarah found themselves trapped amidst an other. Oh my god. Alex and Sarah found themselves trapped amidst an otherworldly tempest within the confines of a malevolent force. In a desperate bid for survival, they clung to each other, their hearts pounding with fear, as the lighthouse spun into a maddening frenzy. They reached out to the ancient artifact within the chamber, searching for a means of escape. Their trembling hands found a piece, an amulet that glowed with an ominous light. As they clasped the amulet tightly, a surge of energy coursed through them, temporarily repelling the encroaching darkness. Guided by the faint glow, they sprinted toward the staircase, each step taking them closer to the safety of the outside world. With one final burst of strength, they burst out of the lighthouse, miraculously escaping just as it crumbled into a pile of rubble behind them. The storm eventually subsided, but the memory of that fateful night remained etched in their minds. Years later, the lighthouse was rebuilt, its dark past a haunting reminder of the malevolent force it once had. Alex and Sarah, forever changed by their encounter, found solace in one another, forever connected by the horrors they had endured. And though the lighthouse stood sentinel once more, none dared to venture too close, for the echoes of its haunted past lingered in the wind, a chilling reminder of the terrifying malevolence that dwelled within. All right, I think we're getting somewhere on that one. It seems like you need to be more specific if you want to hone in on a specific story that's going to be any kind of good. It still wasn't incredible. There's a lot of things that don't fully make sense. I don't think anyone's going to be losing their writing job to an AI anytime soon. Could be wrong, but if this is the technology we have to work with, I think you're gonna be okay. We're sticking with Chat GPT, and I asked it again to write me a horror story, but I made it more specific even than the last time. I actually even gave it an author. I told it to write me a horror story about three men in the style of Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary. Little on the nose there, aren't we? Amidst the vast expanse of the tempestuous sea, three men found themselves adrift upon a creaking, dilapidated vessel. The moon's pale light, obscured by ominous storm clouds, cast eerie shadows upon their fear-stricken faces. The sea roared with an insatiable hunger, as if taunting their very existence. The three ill-fated souls were Captains Richards, Morgan, and Thompson, who had set sail in pursuit of a fabled treasure hidden on a secluded island. But their pursuit of fortune had been thwarted by a merciless maelstrom, which raged for days on end, tearing apart their sturdy ship. Now they clung to debris as their sole lifeline, adrift in a vast abyss of terror. As the night wore on, their provisions ran scarce, and madness threatened to consume them. Captain Richards, once a man of stern resolve, now quivered at the thought of the unseen horrors below the surface of the water. His eyes, once filled with determination, were now hollow and sunken, as black as the abyss beneath them. Captain Morgan, once known for his quick wit, had fallen silent, lost in the labyrinth of his own disillusionment. He spoke no more, for even the mere rasp of his voice seemed to summon monstrous creatures from the depths. His hollow gaze stared into the abyss, as if beckoned by the enigmatic secrets concealed within. Captain Thompson, the youngest of the trio, had become obsessed with an unrelenting fear that an ill-omened presence prowled their vessel. Shadows danced and whispered in the corners of his vision, playing wicked tricks upon his fragile mind. He questioned the sanity of his companions, wondering if he himself had already succumbed to the tendrils of lunacy. Days turned into nights, and nights into torturous eternity. Each new sunrise brought them no comfort, only heightened despair. Their once muscular bodies now emaciated, their strength waned with every agonizing breath. Their souls teetered on the brink of dissolution, gripped by the cold hands of despair. And then, as if answering silent pleas, an ethereal figure appeared through the mist. Clad in tattered garments, with wraith-like features, the figure beckoned them towards the unknown. Lured by promise of salvation or simply driven by overwhelming madness, the captains followed, lost in a feverish trance. They traversed an otherworldly realm, where time stood still and reality dissolved into a macabre dance of twisted illusions. Whispers of forgotten spirits brushed against their ears, their souls intertwined with nightmarish phantoms. Each man's sanity unraveled, threaded only by the tether of their shared plight. In the end, they reached the island of their ill-fated desires, an accursed place, cursed beyond measure. As they stumbled upon the treasure, the island itself seemed to scream in agony, deathly echoes reverberating across the desolate landscape, for no treasure, be it of wealth or power, could appease the wrath that had claimed their souls. And so the three captains became eternal guardians of their own damned desires, haunting the turbulent seas for eternity. Their screams and mournful cries echo throughout the darkest nights, a cautionary tale of greed and pride, forever trapped in the clutches of an unmerciful sea. As time goes on, legends are whispered of the ghost ship and its spectral crew, lost forever in the tempest's embrace, reminding all who dare venture upon the treacherous waters of the price one pays for seeking glory in the face of boundless horror. I'm going to be completely honest with you. That is the best story I was able to get the AI to write for me. Honestly, it's actually pretty good. There's really nothing I can really complain about other than just, it probably needs fleshed out more. It's not really super fleshed out. It's pretty short. It's only a few paragraphs. But the descriptions and everything were really, really good. And I think some of that might have come from adding that little in the style of Edgar Allan Poe thing in there. It also seems to be using the word malevolent a lot. It seems like that is a key word that the AI is just instantly putting into all of these stories. I believe it's been in at least two of them, if not all of them. So the last story I asked Chat GPT to write for me, I got even more specific to see what it would do. I told it to write me a horror story about men lost in the jungle in the 1920s in the style of old pulp horror comics. Now, I'm actually quite a big fan of pulp horror magazines. Not that I've ever seen one in person, but I did purchase this book, and I love it. It's great. This is a great book by I don't know, somebody, Stephen Jones. So anyway, it's just the artwork of pulp horror is phenomenal. Let's see if I can open to a page that's not going to get censored. Nope. Like these. Aren't these just great? How long is this black? This is a brown moment. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, pulp magazines are things like Weird Tales, and you can just go and look those up, like Tales from the Crypt, things like that. If you go and look that up, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I told the AI to write me a horror story about men lost in the jungle in the style of these old magazines, and here is what it gave me. The Jungle's Haunting Secrets. Chapter 1. A Dangerous Expedition. In the heart of the untamed jungle, amidst the sweltering heat and a chorus of unseen critters, a group of intrepid explorers ventured into the mysterious wilderness. It was the late 1920s, an era when adventurers believed they could conquer any terrain. Brimming with courage and armed with a thirst for knowledge, 5 men set off on an expedition that would forever change their lives. The team was led by Captain Samuel Thornwood, a seasoned explorer with a weathered face and a voice deepened by years of shouting orders. His loyal comrades, each possessing their own unique skills, rallied behind their leader. There was Dr. Edgar Cartwright, a brilliant archaeologist, William Wild Bill Hastings, an agile tracker and hunter, Professor Eustace Covington, a botanist and expert on indigenous flora, and Owen Whitaker, the expedition's rugged and enigmatic guide. Chapter 2. Into the Abyss. As the group delved deeper into the uncharted depths of the jungle, they found themselves surrounded by an ominous silence. The dense foliage obscured their sight, and every step became treacherous. Whispers of old legends reached their ears, tales of supernatural creatures that haunted these unforgiving lands. After days of relentless trekking, they stumbled upon a long-forgotten temple, concealed by ancient vines and forgotten gods. Its entrance beckoned them, almost as if it knew what lay hidden within. Determined to uncover the mysteries of this forgotten civilization, their curiosity overcame any sense of fear. Chapter 3. The Curse Awakens. Inside the crumbling temple, the air grew heavy with the scent of decay. Walls etched with intricate symbols hinted at long-lost rituals and forgotten knowledge. Struggling to decipher the cryptic language, Dr. Cartwright felt a surge of excitement tinged with unease. It was as though an unseen presence whispered secrets into their ears. As they ventured deeper, the explorers discovered an ornate stone chest glowing with an otherworldly luminescence. Unable to resist its allure, they pried open the ancient lid, but their elation soon turned to horror as an unseen force ricocheted through the chambers, sealing their fate. Chapter 4. A Desperate Fight. Now trapped within the sinister temple, the men found themselves ensnared in the grip of an ancient curse. Shadows danced ominously, mocking their futile attempts at escape. Unseen forces unleashed nightmarish hallucinations, tormenting their minds with horrors unimaginable. The jungle itself seemed alive with malicious intent, wrapping its tendrils around them. Fleeing became nearly impossible as the twisted vegetation took on monstrous forms, lashing out with malicious tendrils. Every step they took deeper into the temple only brought them closer to their own demise. Chapter 5. Confronting Dark Forces. In the face of impending doom, the group's determination and resourcefulness surged. Captain Thornwood, hardened by years of battling nature's fury, rallied in his weary companions. With his leadership, they resolved to confront the darkness that held them captive. Armed with the knowledge meticulously recorded by Dr. Cartwright, The expedition used their expertise to decipher the ancient rituals depicted on the temple walls. Tapping into the forgotten powers, they hoped to lift the curse and regain their freedom. Chapter 6: A Lasting Memory. Their final efforts, desperate and daring. That is exactly what it says. Their final efforts, desperate and daring, the group enacted the forgotten ritual, invoking long-forgotten deities. Thunder rumbled ominously as if the very heavens themselves forced their displeasure. But the sacrifice of a precious artifact appeased the malevolent spirits that bound them captive. As the curse lifted, the crumbling temple released its grip, allowing the explorers to escape the perilous jungle. Their lives forever altered by the horror they had witnessed. Each man carried the memories of their ordeal deep within their hearts. Though forever changed, their tenacity and courage in the face of darkness left an indelible mark upon the annals of exploratory history. Their tale, whispered with a mix of awe and terror, became part of the lore of those who dared to venture into the uncharted depths of the jungle in the 1920s. And so the tale of the lost men in the jungle would be forever etched into the annals of pulp horror, a a testament to the enduring spirit of human curiosity in the face of unimaginable terrors. Some interesting things to note about this, I would say, is that it divided it up into chapters, which is interesting. A lot of them weren't very developed, and I about lost it at the end when it just said in the when it just name dropped pulp horror out of nowhere, like out of context, didn't make sense. There were also several grammatical errors throughout all of these stories that simply just didn't make a whole lot of sense and would have made it extremely obvious that some kind of AI wrote this. So, is AI going to take over anyone's job of writing? Not yet. Is AI easy to spot? I think so. If you really read these stories, I tried my best to read them verbatim, but there's a couple things that my brain probably just switched around and fixed, without looking at them very hard. Like there's some grammatical errors, like I said. The stories are just super generic, and they have like no bite to them at all. The only one that had any kind of interesting thing to say was the one that I told to write in the style of Edgar Allan Poe. Like Snapchats sucked, Chat GPTs weren't amazing. So in the end, at the end of the day, I think what this proves is that artificial intelligence is no substitute for real human creativity. So, if you have a story you want to write that story. Now, if you'd like AI to help you, that might be interesting. Because I'm thinking about myself of like turning some of these stories into like a full, like really fleshing them out and just taking the premise given to me by AI. Therefore, using AI as a tool rather than training my own replacement. One thing I do want to mention about these stories is that they all seem to have somewhat of a happy ending or some sort of moral to teach at the end. And in this way, they go back to this sort of old school style of horror storytelling in which there is a parable or some sort of moral lesson to be gleaned from the story itself. Most of these had that. Snapchat's whatever. I don't care. That was dumb. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was technically clickbait, but if you watched this far, thanks a lot. And if you like that, please subscribe. And if you didn't like that, please leave me a lengthy comment about why. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm the Soul Carney, and I'll see you later.